Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for today's webinar, CXO Blueprint for Adopting Artificial Intelligence to Drive Growth. In a world where technology is evolving at a rapid pace, the integration of artificial intelligence has become a cornerstone in driving growth across a variety of industries. Today's session will delve into the strategies, methodologies, and real-world examples from FrontPoint that have empowered their executives to leverage artificial intelligence within their business. So grab your notebooks, have your questions ready, and let's embark on this journey together. My name is Brandon Savage. I am the head of solution enablement here at Vosic AI. Today, our featured speaker and panelist is Derek Carter, Chief Operating Officer at FrontPoint. In addition to hearing from Derek, we'll also be able to hear from our chief data scientist and co-founder of Vosic AI, Vasu Akula. So before I turn the time over to Derek, allow me to introduce all of you to Vosic AI. We are your partners in protecting and growing recurring revenue using artificial intelligence. Vosic AI stands out with its unique value delivery model, combining our platform, our people, and change management consulting. We're purpose-built for recurring revenue businesses. It's more than just a technology. We are a strategic partner in your growth journey. So far, we've delivered over $750 million in customer lifetime value to our clients, but our goals don't stop there. With Vosic AI, we support an array of critical use cases, including customer retention, helping to ensure that your valuable customers stay loyal, price increases, strategically adjusting pricing while minimizing the resulting attrition. Whatever you've gotten with your past price increase, we believe we'll be able to help cut that attrition in half. Second chance lead scoring, so re-engaging potential clients with targeted strategies, referrals and upsells, utilizing customer satisfaction to grow your business even further. And last but not least, improving CX and CSAT scores, being able to enhance customer experiences to build stronger relationships with your customers. So without any further ado, I'm going to hand it over the virtual stage to Derek Carter. Derek, the floor is yours.
Excellent. Thank you, Brandon. Really appreciate it. And thank you, everyone, for joining the session. So we're going to talk a little bit about the CXO blueprint for implementation and what we went through in partnering with Vosic AI. I want to give just a quick update on who I am and the company that I'm with. So FrontPoint is a company that founded in 2007. We're one of the pioneers in introducing a DIY home security solution. So for quite some time, most of the security industry was built on a model of having a pro installer come on site, having a stranger that needs to enter the home. But FrontPoint was one of the pioneers in launching a system that can be shipped directly to customers, arrive within a day, and then be configured that same day in under 30 minutes. And so really important to us is the customer experience, especially because customers are setting up the system themselves. They're supporting the system themselves. And so the customer experience and customer satisfaction are extremely important to us. We have a 4+ star review on Trustpilot. We're also very serious about customer feedback, and we have an A+ credited rating on the Better Business Bureau. And so enough about FrontPoint. Let's talk a little bit about Vosic AI and the implementation. And so to give a little bit of a background, when I joined FrontPoint in 2021, my background is in customer experience and scaling operational teams. And in joining the organization, we had several goals that we wanted to accomplish, but also challenges that we needed to overcome. We were looking at several data points that we had within the organization that were coming from different systems, like our CRM, the use of the application, customer satisfaction. We had customers contacting us for various reasons, and we had a higher than average attrition rate at the time. And this was coupled with operational challenges around our staffing bandwidth. We had high wait times, and so we had a few problems to solve when we approached Vosic, but ultimately we were looking at why are customers attriting, and what are some of the indicators that we can start to deduce to prevent that attrition. And then starting to identify risk level. I think for the security industry, there has always been a legacy mindset that you don't want to poke the bear. You don't want to engage your customers regularly because that can initiate cancellation activity. And we really wanted to change that mindset, but we wanted to understand what was the risk behind doing so, what kind of attrition we could expect, and then what were the drivers of that risk. And so what was, again, ultimately leading to customers leaving and canceling us. We're also looking at ways that we can better empower our agents. At the time, our customer service agents were burdened from a bandwidth perspective, but they also were not following a set script for how they address customer scenarios, as well as cancellation episodes. So if a customer called with the intent to cancel, they were using a notepad methodology and kind of working through offers that were not necessarily aligned to the customer, not adding a lot of value, and that was also impacting our overall attrition rate. And then at the end of the day, I think like everybody else, we're looking at ways that we can become more profitable. So we were looking at how do we drive additional customer renewals, but how do we also use this data to provide added value to our customers, add to their lifetime value, add to their use of the platform, and ultimately reduce attrition because they're happy with the system and they're using it on a day-to-day basis. So Vasu, if you want to move to the next slide, that really leads into the strategy that we implemented. And I have to say, in working with Vosik, as we went through a strategy phase, I was pleasantly surprised because many times as you work with a service provider or another, a SaaS organization, the strategy comes into just solving what the platform can solve. And so in working with Vosik AI, one of the differentiators that we found is that we brought some of the operational challenges that were out of scope to the decision on why our team members were not able to leverage the platform. They may have seen it as another step in the process of using the solution. And the change management process that Vasu and team implemented helped us to overcome operational challenges that were out of scope. And so we were able to come up with staffing solutions that made sense. We were able to look at launching to our digital platform that was less encumbered by the incoming contact volume and come up with a strategy that made sense in adding some initial value while solving other business problems right from the start. That led into our implementation phase. And so to begin with, we were looking to solve the staffing issue, but we were also looking at how do we get our team members involved and have this as part of their workflow. Instead of it being one more thing to do on a call, how do we ensure that we're automatically pulling up this software so that they can review the data points that are surrounding that either retention scenario or that support scenario, and they can use it to their advantage. And that's one of the things that we found that was extremely helpful with the Vosik AI platform. Our team members had insight and information to the customer that really guided them in making it a conversational experience. So instead of thinking of it as, hey, here's some checkboxes that I need to fill and offers that I need to position, it was, oh, I can actually see the square footage of their home. I can see where they're located. I can see where they would be positioning the security equipment. And then that leads into the different use cases and the different scripts that they can follow. And so they saw the software as a way to improve their day-to-day experience, as opposed to, oh no, this is another software that I have to learn, and another step in my ever-growing workload. And so adding to that, the implementation phase, and one of the big differentiators that helped from a change management perspective was the WIFM, what's in it for them. And we were able to assess the proactive renewals that they were engaging in and customers that they were adding additional value, but also the retention behavior and the customers that they were saving from cancellation. And we were able to incentivize them and provide, in addition to their pay rate, in the activity that they were facilitating. We were able to do that all in partnership with Vosic AI, but also with our finance team, and do it in a way that made sense from a business perspective, but added great value to them. And so I think those were, two of the really big changes that led to the results that we saw from a success perspective. So when we first started this, we had no proactive renewals that we were engaging in. If customers were calling about a contract, we were starting the renewal activity there, or we were addressing the cancellation activity, like I mentioned, with less methodology behind it. But with Vosic AI, we were able to see over 6,000 proactive renewals that we were able to achieve in the first year. And this, I add a little asterisk to that 6,000 because I feel like we could have achieved even more had we not had some of our own operational challenges to begin with. And since solving that, and the speed of answer being under 30 seconds now, we've seen that lift in 2023 to over 10,000, and that's from the continuous evolution of the project rollout, the partnership with Vosic, the discussions that we have on a weekly basis, but also starting to scale to other areas of the business. So adding additional channels. We started with the contact center because as a DIY security company, we're receiving several phone calls from our customers, and it's a great time for us to engage. But we also have our app, we have our digital channel. So customers are engaging in other mediums that we have now scaled to, and we're able to position the lessons learned from what our agents are feeding into Vosic AI into those digital offers that we're now presenting that has helped us reach that next milestone. So it really is a fully automated feedback loop. Instead of us having to have several data analysts on staff that are having to mine through this data, Vosic was coming to us with the positioning of the offers that we were then presenting digitally. And that's led to customers taking that action themselves while they're using the app, while they're navigating the website, and really engaging in proactive renewals without even having to talk to a member of our team. And when you really talk about the value what it means to the business, for each, for 3 to 4 of these proactive renewals, it really equates to bringing on a new customer, but it goes beyond that because it's heightening the time that they're staying with your organization. The offers that the team member is presenting are adding new use cases for our business, home automation, adding in the ability for them to use cameras. And so they're moving into less risky segments and less likelihood to cancel overall because they have more stickiness with the platform. And so I think that that's an important factor. When you just break it down from the dollars and cents perspective, you can see the 3 to 4 equate to 1 new customer, but overall lifetime value and what it creates, and then reducing that attrition rate is really where we saw the heightened value to the business, and is what put us in the attrition rate that we have now. So I know I just went over quite a bit, Vasu. Anything you want to add to that I may have missed?
No, Derek, I think it's phenomenal, right? The way there's like so many nuances, right? The way you kind of touched on, starting small, addressing the needs of the agent about what's in it for me. All of that is fantastic. Everyone wants the results like what you have seen, but I thought it's a great way to kind of say, start with what you have and then, expand over a period of time into additional channels and additional use cases, all of that. And
I think we talked about the customer retention portion and how we're now able to identify the risk factors from the data that's not only being brought from Vosic AI, but how our team members are also assessing the risk. One interesting point there is on every customer interaction, our team members are capturing if there is a likelihood for that customer to cancel. So if they express dissatisfaction, if they express that, hey, they're not happy with a policy, it could be anything, that's also feeding back into the algorithm. And so it added another value point for our team members on they're really helping to identify what could be a churn indicator in the future. And we also incentivize them on providing that type of feedback. But we've used this data and we've used the risk segments and what we've put together, over the last year, almost 2 years now. And we're starting to use that for other use cases. Pricing increases, this is a big thing in almost any RMR, business at this point, deciding which customers you would like to initiate a price increase for based on either their RMR or based on other risk factors, and then understanding what you're going to get from a net gain to the business, but also where there may be friction from a customer perspective. And so the change management that we've had with the Vosic AI team has really helped us to outline where we're going to add the most value. And just to give an example of this, prior to engaging Vosic, when we initiated our own price increases, we didn't do as much segmentation, and we also we paid for it from a nutrition perspective. We had customer insight that we weren't pulling in, such as if there's a negative satisfaction score that we received recently, it's probably the worst type of customer to then price up. And if they've had a contact with us where they express dissatisfaction on price, another one you want to take into account, or those who have had a significant period of non-use of the platform. And so these are just a few of the factors that pull into the decision making, but they assess that risk score and then allow us to really target the segments that are going to make a difference to the bottom line. And I think that the other interesting use cases that we're just starting to dive into, but we're really excited about, is the second chance lead scoring. I mean, right now, growth is a big area of focus for us, and we've really made a big impact on the retention and attrition and our overall operations. But we want to be able to look at the leads that, in some cases we're paying partners for, in some cases we're paying digital marketing or paying Google. And when we aren't able to make a conversion, being able to use that same data to analyze it for a second chance really maximizes the value of what you're paying for your marketing spend and your overall creation costs. And so we're excited to use those data points. And then the other that we see as another point that is going to generate value is the customer win back, because the same type of insight that we're gaining in the retention episodes, we're also gaining from any customer that does leave us. And we have insight to show whether they would want to do business with us again because of a retention portal that we've implemented, alongside Vasu and team. And so we're going to leverage that data as well as the customer's prior usage to put packages together that will allow us to generate customer win backs. And the same type of algorithm will apply when we're gaining more insight on why they may not want to come back. We'll be able to feed that into the engine so that we can better improve it through the use of AI. So I think both of those are really exciting use cases and apply to multiple businesses, because you have different data points that you're capturing that are determining customer health, and you have other ways that you can generate win-back campaigns and targeting strategies, either through marketing or from a telesales team or dialer, depending on what you have.
It's fantastic, Derek. Thank you really for sharing. How from a CXO perspective, right? So let me kind of share my screen. Yeah, from a CXO perspective, right? How do you bring? Everybody wants to bring AI. And last time when I did the webinar, that was the NVIDIA quarterly release the day before. And today we are doing a webinar, this quarterly release the day after, right? Each time, they keep talking about, where is AI? Everyone wants to bring these things, and NVIDIA is kind of everywhere talking about, AI, huge success, for their customers and all that. But what I really liked about this one particularly is, how you start with a business case, how you start with implementing this in one channel, making sure that the adoption is there before you start boiling the ocean and getting into bigger and bigger channels, and also the use cases that Derek talked about. I certainly enjoyed all of that, Derek. So thank you very much. And this is really what makes my job enjoyable, right? So it's not just about implementation, but realizing the results, and then looking back at, did we achieve what we really wanted to achieve, identified in the business cases, and get on a call like this and celebrate that success. So today is one of those celebration days for us. So we have about 7 or 8 minutes. If anyone on the call has any questions, please feel free to type. The next few minutes is really about Q&A. But to facilitate that, I'm going to just flip through these things, give some visuals. We can answer any questions either from Derek's point of view, Brandon's point of view, or my point of view. I'm just going to flip through a couple of screens, give you some ideas about, what, as a CXO, you might want to think about when you're strategizing, right? Or when you're implementing what you could be thinking about, right? From all our implementation experience. So please feel free to start typing your questions. If not, you can always send an email. We will make sure that you get your question answered later.
You can do that in the Q&A section. So there's a Q&A section where you can then type in questions, and we'll keep an eye on that.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. So this is Derek going back, I guess 18 months, right? So it looks like yesterday, but that was 18 months ago. This is all the discussions that we had with the technology team and the marketing team and the operations team. And we advised them, look at all the data that you have, whether you have already integrated this or not. This is the real starting point. Think about not just support databases, but also marketing databases, sales databases. If you are using any third-party, survey providers, there's data sitting in those environments. And before implementing AI and looking for value derived from AI, you definitely want to think about all the data that is sitting around and bring it all together, and then start talking about what are the use cases. Like Derek showed a bunch of use cases that are applicable to home security and many other recurring revenue businesses, right? Whether it is telecom or pest control or lawn care, these days everything is becoming recurring revenue, and investors are valuing that very, very highly. So one advice that we gave to FriendPoint, and also we recommend every single C-level leader to look at, is make sure you start your AI implementation with a strong enough business case, right? That goes a long way in rallying your internal teams. You go back to your finance team and show it to them, and you get sponsorship and support from them. That is when I think these projects become more like transformative nature projects, as opposed to one more project on top of 20 other projects that no one is excited about, right? So show the value that is possible through AI, but then immediately make sure that you have a strategy and you start small. I love the way Derek explained by saying, this is what we did this, but as the operational leader with 20 plus years of experience, having that experience of doing this for many other companies in the past, we really appreciated partnering with Derek and his team when Derek said, let's get it right in the call center, right? Let's make sure that we think from the people who are doing this. What is, how should they be excited about? Let's think about incentives for them. Let's position this as, this is going to now make your job easy, right? All of that type of thing. So we took all of that to heart, and we customized the UI to fit FriendPoint needs and things like that. And I think that kind of really turned what every leader is talking about. We have been touching our customers through multiple different ways. How do I make sure that every interaction is a profitable interaction, right? Derek, you want to talk about anything? I know this UI went through a couple of iterations. Every time we speak with you, you kind of keep reminding how simple but how effective this is. So if you want to add anything on this one.
No, I think you hit the nail on the head, Vasu. The only thing that I'll add is again, going to that change management process. I'm used to working with organizations where it's very rigid, and the response is, well, this is how it works for everyone else. And every business is different. How the reps go through a workflow is very different. And the fact that we did, agent shadowing and actually went through their workflow and then designed this with them in mind, with how the call flow works, with what they're looking at in terms of the customer risk indicators, and then having the options that they selected I think that was pivotal for the adoption, because outside of the what's in it for them and the incentives, being able to make this an easy part of their workflow where they really saw it as a tool that was easy to navigate, easy for them to use, and easy for them to submit feedback, that was instrumental to get the right insight that we could use later when we implemented to the digital channels.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, I love the way that, prove the economics, right? Don't get too excited, we can scale it later, but prove the economics through one channel, and then don't reinvent the wheel, right? Otherwise, marketing leaders want to again calculate the value, right? Risk scores and offers, prove it in one channel. It doesn't matter whether we prove it in the call center or whether you prove it in a field in-home service or whether you prove it in the website. So you avoid some work and then take this with high confidence that these economics are working. Now let's look for the scale. And now when you get to the scale, everybody has these channels, right? We tend to underestimate, what type of intelligence we can bring into these channels. But I love the way FriendPoint did this one. With Derek's leadership, we did this first in the call center, and then it quickly went into a few other channels. And this is a recommended blueprint that I will wholeheartedly recommend for every single company looking for, where do we start? How do we go? It actually doesn't matter where do you start. You start with one channel is always our recommendation. And then Derek actually touched on many additional use cases, because once you integrate the data, once you prove the value of AI kind of turning the needle for you, you can go from retention to price increase to win backs to NPS to upgrades to upsells to many other use cases. But when we try to do all of this in the next one quarter, it becomes difficult to bite, and sometimes you get into implementation delays because you're trying to do too many things in one shot. Derek,
So Vasu, sorry to interrupt.
You have your preferred channels. Brandon or Derek, anything you want to add?
So I wanted to pitch one question we had here in the chat room to Derek, and it has to do with, as you were deploying the solution, what can you talk about, or what can you speak of about the deployment process and the burden that it put upon your team? Oftentimes when you have a lot of data, you're dealing with your software teams. Can you tell us a little bit about that implementation process?
No, that's a great question, Brandon. I think that leads into what Vasu was talking about in terms of the channel that we selected as well. The implementation process, and I think what was very different in implementing Vozik AI is that part of that change management process involved helping to aggregate a lot of data that we had that was either coming in from many places or just poor data. And I think, as we know, poor data in, poor data out in terms of reporting. And so the exercise was very meaningful from the organization, but it was one we likely wouldn't have gotten to if we had not gone through this implementation of getting the data accurate so that we could start taking actions from it. And so I think that was a challenge that we faced just internally, but Vozik helped us in solving that as we went through the implementation process. I think that the other, as Vasu was talking about the channels here, you really have to understand your customer in terms of where they're interacting with your company, because that will determine which channel is going to be the biggest bang for your buck. But then understanding your operational limitations. And so for us, the tech team was an operational limitation at the start, but we knew that the contact center was an easy way for us to implement with a massive amount of touch points from our customers. And so we went that route, but it also helped us from a learning perspective, and it helped us in gathering that additional insight. And so I think that the two challenges we face, probably not uncommon for many organizations, it's just the data disparity and the lack of good data, and then the insight to it, as well as tech resources or competing tech resources. And so the way that we overcame the tech resourcing challenge was establishing that lifetime value and really putting a strong financial use case that came with working with our finance team, but with the data from Vozik AI and what we could achieve in terms of renewals as well as new business. And so easy to overcome when you're working with a partner that can help you with managing that disparate data to put a proper use case together.
Awesome. Software is one part, but operationalizing is where the real value realization comes from. So it's been a great journey. Thank you very much, Derek. I see one more question here. So Brandon, you want to go with this thing?
Let's see. It was a thank you to Derek. Love listening to your thoughts and your business practices. I plan on benchmarking from some of the items you presented. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah.
Excellent. And I'm happy to speak to anybody that would like to hear additional information. And I know Vasu has additional insight, and we'll gather questions too if there are any that come up as you're implementing or starting to put together benchmarking.
Yeah. Awesome. I think we are just a minute over. So maybe Brandon, I'll pass it to you for any closing comments.
Absolutely. So if you've been with us live today, or if you're watching this later on as it was recorded, we just want to thank you for taking the time to watch and to learn a little bit more about our solution. If you're interested in being able to talk to us in more detail about our solution and how it could be applied to your business, feel free to reach out to us. You can email info@vosic.ai, or you can connect with myself or Vasu on LinkedIn. We'll be sending all the attendees of this webinar a free ebook as a download that has a 3-step action plan for where you can start to really starting to get these transformational insights within your own organization. Also, by attending today, you qualify for a free one-on-one maturity assessment where we'll be able to evaluate your current retention program and review your plan for the rest of 2023 and perhaps going into 2024, and give you some insights on some things that you can be doing to follow some of the best practices we've learned. In addition, anyone who's attended the webinar can also qualify for 50% off of our artificial intelligence software service, and we would love to be able to demonstrate what we can add to your business in terms of improving enterprise value, so you can see some of the same results that Derek has seen today. So thanks again for joining our webinar. Thank you, Derek, for being willing to share the insights and the experience you've had as a partner with Vosic AI. And we'll see you again next month, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.